Here we go. It is Wednesday, time for the 734 from WCCO. I'm Jason DeRusha. Great to have you with us today. Thanks for watching us every day on Facebook at this time. We appreciate it, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or wherever in the intertubes this thing gets kind of shot out to. I don't know. I just speak into the thing, and apparently somebody sees this. Why don't we show you this? 7:30 forecast. Going to be a nice day today. Couple degrees above average. 76 is pretty much the ideal weather for kind of a fat guy like me, you know? It's nice, warm enough, but you're not sweating all over the place. Feels good. Perfect day. Perfect day. Quiet night out there, too. Should have a couple of nice days in a row before the weekend comes, and as is appropriate for the times, things go straight in the crapper. All right, let's talk about this. Minneapolis has reclaimed its crown for the best park system in the nation. Yesterday, we told you this place is a dump if you're a green thumb. Forget about coming here to garden. Today, we're here to tell you we've got the best parks going. Minneapolis, #1. There's some stat like 90% of Minneapolis is within like 3 blocks of a park, which is so cool. Washington, D.C. is #2, which you have to look at D.C. I mean, their parks have all of the Smithsonian Institutes, all of the national monuments. We're better than them? Yeah, St. Paul, #3. So great stuff here. We have wonderful bike trails, wonderful parks. Minneapolis is going to start reopening things today. They had decided that we were doing a bad job of social distancing, so they locked up the tennis courts and took down some of the rims for the basketball hoops. But that's going to reopen starting today. They'll roll that out over 2 weeks. They've done a nice job of closing down some parkways to give people room to spread out and walk around and be outside. But we wanted to know, what is your favorite park? We're the #1 and #3 park system in the U.S. Pick your favorite park. Tell us why. Tell us where it is. I'm looking to take a bike ride later today, so bonus points if you can give me a suggestion as to where I should go ride this afternoon. Leave a comment on the WCCO TV Facebook page. Those are the comments we read in the show, and we'll share a few in a moment. Let's get you to the latest news updates. And today, Minnesota restaurant owners, salons, barbershops, gyms, parents with kids in youth sports, everybody kind of waiting to see what the governor is going to announce for the next phase of reopening the economy. June 1st was a target day that was given for restaurants, and the state expected to say what they're thinking today. Some restaurants we talked with have been buying masks and sanitizer and making plans to limit the number of customers allowed inside. Hospitality Minnesota has been one of several groups advising state leaders on how to safely reopen, but the rules will likely not only apply to restaurant staff.
And it will definitely be a two-way street of understanding what the operators are going to have to be doing and required to do, as well as the customers and what they'll be asked to do when they come to patronize these establishments.
Big things to watch out for today. We have learned that the key points of the reopening plan, kind of obvious, right? It's going to be sanitation, social distancing, which is capacity. How many people? What's the percentage they're going to allow? Personal hygiene, health screening, and personal protection. So those are some of the things we'll be watching. A lot of restaurants telling me that they're not going to open no matter what the governor says. Hell's Kitchen in downtown Minneapolis has said they will not be reopening on June 1st. They're going to be a little more cautious about this. I've heard this from a lot of different restaurants. Birchwood Cafe is not going to reopen right away. El Burrito Mercado in St. Paul, Moochie's, St. Dinette. Lots of places are going to wait and see how this shakes out. Hell's Kitchen says they're committed to reopening only when it's safe for customers and employees. So a lot of people looking at it from that perspective. But plenty of places will open, right? Another Twin Cities staple, though, is not going to make it to that decision point. Moose and Sadies. Boy, such a bummer to lose this one. Moose and Sadies posted on Instagram last night. They have closed the doors for the last time. It's been the North Loop for nearly 30 years. Before all the hipster restaurants came to the North Loop, before the Bachelor Farmer, which also announced its closing, before Spoon and Stable and Smack Shack, Moose and Sadies was there taking care of the neighborhood. Great run for them. Too bad they're not going to make it through. Rent is high in the North Loop, and being a sort of destination neighborhood, I think that's one of the areas that's going to really struggle in the post-coronavirus era. We learned today about the Timberwolves. We're going to find out how they plan on reopening their practice facility. The NBA did tell teams they could reopen facilities once the stay-home orders are relaxed, and they have been. NBA, one of the first sports leagues to shut down their season when the pandemic began. This is kind of awkward to talk about, but the reality is we've seen in other states, especially New York, where the number of people dying from coronavirus happened in waves, and they overwhelmed morgues and funeral homes and hospitals. So the state is spending nearly $7 million on a backup plan. They needed a place to put the bodies of our friends and neighbors who end up succumbing to coronavirus. So this is a possible temporary morgue. It used to be a grocery distribution facility in St. Paul. So if they need it, it will be used to temporarily house those human remains. As of today, every state in the country is now in some phase of reopening. Connecticut, the last state to allow some non-essential businesses to open today. A little delay on this. The CDC did quietly release this 60-page roadmap for reopening. This was kind of a controversial thing because the president didn't necessarily agree with all of these things. CDC wants restaurants to install barriers, buses to close seats, schools to close playgrounds, and encourage students to wear masks. The president disagreed on some of this stuff, so it wasn't no real fanfare, but they did release the document. Take a look at this. Boy, what a bummer in Midland County, Michigan. 2 dams that protect that city burst. Heavy rains led to this major flooding. Just you watch that water just rushing into the downtown area. Residents in 2 towns in Michigan had to evacuate. Luckily, no reports of any injuries, but boy, up to 9 feet of water covering some of those towns. Costco shoppers, well, you might be happy about this, you might not. The superstore is easing some restrictions. Costco will no longer put a limit on the number of shoppers in the stores unless that's required by the state they live in. Previously, only 1 or 2 people were allowed to enter per membership card. Costco has resumed regular hours at most locations, but they are still requiring people to wear masks. Pier 1 is done. Retailer says it's going out of business and will permanently close 540 stores. They have been kind of in and out of bankruptcy and talking about this for a number of years. Apparently, our appetite for wicker chairs and weird home decor, we are satisfying that at other places. 6 stores in Minnesota, Maple Grove, Burnsville, Minnetonka, all going out of business. We've all been told to social distance during the pandemic. That does mean for family as well. That's the toughest part. I think you want to hug your mom or your grandma. But this is pretty interesting. Take a look.
Mom! Oh my God! That's just so wonderful. Come here, let me hug you.
Yeah, nursing home in Virginia said, we got an idea because we know you want to hug your parents who are in these nursing homes. That's a hippo costume. It's been sanitized. Assisted living staff came up with the idea of kind of sterilizing a suit, allowing a family to embrace while avoid spreading the virus. That is equal parts weird and sweet and heartwarming, too. When restaurants begin to reopen around Minnesota, maybe some should take a page out of this book. To Baltimore we go. Revolution Event Design and Production came up with the idea of bumper tables. They debuted at the restaurant Fishtails this past weekend in Ocean City, Maryland. Inflatable inner tubes on wheels theoretically allow people to stay 6 feet apart while eating, but if you look at this video, it looks to be an absolute and complete failure because these people are in no way 6 feet apart. You'd need to design a table that's probably 10 feet or 15 feet, but you know, that's the revolution, so there you go. Funny, but stupid. All right, it is time. Don't you think? Am I wrong on this? Am I off base?
Me?
No, yes. Eric Henderson, funny yet stupid, is here. I don't know. I think you're. I would say I would reverse that.
Funny and
yeah, smart. Yeah, I think that's
mid-level.
Probably more accurate. We're asking people about their favorite parks today because Minneapolis. Named #1 by this survey that clearly has their data stacked in our favor because we've been #1 for as long as I can remember talking about this thing.
We're going to start with Guy Still today.
I know him. Guy on a bike.
Yep. Silverwood Park is bomb diggity. In Minneapolis, the grand rounds are the bee's knees.
It's true. I don't know.
He's literally 90 years old.
He is. He apparently has been spending some time on the Spotify list that you put together of the happy songs for people staying at home.
Totally.
Oof. I played that thing yesterday at home. I had to turn it off because I felt like an 85-year-old man.
We started with the fresh jams, and then we eventually get into the.
Oh my God.
Michelle says Minnehaha Falls.
Great park.
Obviously,
Great park.
obviously, and Tamara says the same thing.
Yeah, that's a good
stunningly
one.
gorgeous waterfall.
Yeah, agreed. Love it. Never get sick of looking at that.
Bryant says Como Park can be nice at times.
That's a very Minnesotan response. You know, don't want to brag too much.
Yeah, exactly.
I give a shout out to Elm Creek Park Reserve up in Maple Grove. It's got so many different things you can do there. They've got the disc golf course. They've got the inner tubes, the tube hill in the winter.
The bumper tables.
Bumper tables, always, yeah. They have a man-made beach there, a man-made pond. So you can kind of, it feels like you're swimming in a pond and there's a sand beach, but it's all like clean and everything. Kind of cool.
And then Ross said Mount Rushmore is my #1. That's not in Minnesota.
Not in Minnesota. Yeah, are you sure? Are you sure?
Maybe he was being funny but stupid.
Funny but stupid. That should be the sell line for the 734. I know our news director likes to talk about the TV station Smart with Heart.
Yeah.
But this
is
is funny but stupid. So thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.